My friends and I may be podcasters, but if we succeed, we will be remembered as legends of DC.
Look up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's
Krypton Report. Welcome to the Krypton Report. I am your host, Tyler, and with me as always is my beautiful and wonderful co-host.
Hey guys.
It's Jania.
Yes.
Jania is back.
What's up?
We're a little late on this episode, so Happy New Year. But we wanted to, after the so-called 4-point crossover, her and I were talking, we decided that we wanted to go ahead and do a review of the episode Medusa on its own, but we're also going to tie it into our special 2016 review at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're going to kick this off, but before we do, there's one thing I was thinking about. A lot of people like the character of Steel. I am one of those people. I think John Henry Irons is a cool character. But in the comics now, they've kind of made him a little bit more Iron Man-ish. And I was sitting down the other day and I was thinking, how could we do John Henry Irons as Steel, but not make him an Iron Man ripoff? Any thoughts? Any takers?
That would be very hard.
So I was watching Man of Steel the other day with Solomon, and I got thinking, like, that whole movie at the beginning is about manipulation of metal. So what if you did Steel's suit was actually basic Kryptonian liquid metal?
Oh, cool.
So, like, in the New 52, they made Superman's costume, like, he put on the insignia, and then, like, the costume came out like a metal armor. So what if we did Steel, where he has a Kryptonian shield that's made for him, he has the S, and then it's a liquid metal suit that covers him. And he's, like, more like a liquid metal, and it looks more armory, but like a liquid armor. That would help differentiate from, say, like an Iron Man or the Atom.
Definitely.
Or even Cyborg, We haven't got to see Cyborg in action, and we'll see how they do that in the Justice League film. Mm-hmm. But that was just me thinking about that character, because I think he's a great character, because especially with the death of Superman we had in BVS. Spoilers if you haven't seen it by now. If you listen to this and you haven't, something's wrong. Steel represents kind of his legacy of what he was trying to do, inspire people, give them hope, and showing them they can stand up for themselves.
Right.
And, Steel was introduced during the death of Superman, the reign of the Superman arc. So that's just some quick thoughts and thanks. So let's move on. Let's first talk 2016 Superman and Supergirl. And what a big year we had.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I was sitting down when we were talking about doing this, I was like, man, okay, I'm going to bust out the old notes. And we're going to kick it off first with what happened this year with the characters in the comics. Now we saw the end of the New 52 with the death of Superman in the New 52. And then we got Rebirth, which, wow. Superman Rebirth has been an amazing book. It and Action Comics.
Right.
Some people don't like the suit in Rebirth. They don't think it looks classic enough. I particularly like the blue boots. I think they're neat. It's a different. They're moving them back to the red boots, and I wrote a blog about that, and it's fine. But I feel it's a nice blend of comics and screen.
Right. Yeah.
So that when you read the comic, you kind of feel like you're getting the full character. I still don't know why people freak out over the trunks. I mean, those were around way too long. I mean, it was a style of something that's originated in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
That they kept, and I mean, Batman slowly lost it in all forms of media other than some animation in the comics. But we were all okay with Batman losing the trunks in the New 52. But Superman, whew, oh boy. Man, what are they going to do?
It's like he's naked now or something.
He is the big blue Boy Scout.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny. But with that being said, the next part was in Supergirl Rebirth. Have you got a chance to read the issue I got?
No, not yet.
I had it out. I need to dig it back out for you. But they've done, like, the New 52 ended, and for some reason Supergirl's powers were gone.
Yeah.
And then that was it. Like, we didn't see her anymore. So she comes back, and they've kind of, with restoring her powers, they've decided that everything that happened in the New 52 was, like, in a short weeks, like, crammed story.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous when you look at everything that she was a part of. And they tried to de-age her some, just like they tried to de-age Batgirl, which didn't really work. Like, I feel like you have two Batgirls in the New 52. You have when it first starts, and then when they switch her costume, it's like all of a sudden they de-aged her. It was weird. But anyways, now they're creating the DEO. They're kind of making a
parallel. They're trying to parallel the show.
Like they're making like an amalgam of what's going on with the show and bringing that into the comics universe. So if you're someone who watches the show and then you grab a Supergirl comic, you feel like you understand and know what's going on. Like there's some correlation there, and it's not bad. It's cool.
It's a marketability thing for sure.
And I mean, in the comic, they're keeping with what happened in the New 52 with Cyborg Superman being Zor-El, created by Brainiac.
Yeah.
So that's something different and neat.
Yes.
And that's the high points of, in comics. Now we're going to jump over and talk about animation. In animation, we had the DC Superhero Girls show. I think it premiered last year, but I know we finally got to catch up on it because they released that animated video, and I wanted to touch base on it because, we're about to have a daughter.
Yeah.
And Solomon likes it, and our nieces, I think, will really dig it because they've only got to see the short, 15-minute cartoons when they air the segments.
Yeah, but they like it.
So now that with that DVD release, I think it's a great show. I bought Selah a stocking for, even though Christmas, when it passed, I found one clearance, bought it for her for next year, so that'll round out the family's nerdy stockings. Mm-hmm. Sadly, Solomon chose Batman, but it's okay.
If you don't know much about the DC Superhero Girls show, it's actually a really adorable show. Great for kids of all ages, I would say. And it's not just girls. So if you have a little boy at home, just know that they have other characters involved, like Flash is there,
Beast Boy's
Cyborg's
great.
there. Yeah, Beast Boy's there. And Beast Boy's voiced by the same guy who does Beast Boy in Teen Titans Go. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, if you want something that's a little bit more legit than Teen Titans Go, I would definitely check out DC Superhero Girls. It's cute.
And connecting back with that, also, Justice League Action premiered at the end, and the actress who's going to voice Supergirl put it on her Twitter. So Supergirl is coming to Justice League Action, and it does have Superman, and we've watched the first episode, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you'll never touch the Bruce Timm stuff, but it's good. It's fun. It's kind of done a similar short segment, but it's nice. It's a step up from from Teen Titans Go. So
I think anything's a step up from Teen Titans Go.
So it's a great new, animated series that has all the DC characters in it.
Yeah.
You definitely see Superman and Batman in the first episode. So it was fun to watch. We'll just say that. And
yeah,
I look forward to more episodes of that, as well as we got the animated film Justice League versus Teen Titans. Not a super strong Superman per se film, but he is there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the, I don't even know what they're calling it, the animated film canon, because you know how they'll do one that's connected, or they'll do a couple that are connected, and they'll do a one-off. Like this year they did Batman Bad Blood, Justice League vs. Teen Titans, which were connected, and then they did Killing Joke as the one-off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we're about to get Justice League Dark, that's connected as well.
Oh, so excited.
So that comes out, 2 weeks maybe, I think?
Sounds about right,
3 weeks. which should have some Superman in it. We'll get back to you on that one. I mean, that's the big points for animation. Quick note that we got the announcement trailer of Injustice 2. It just kind of showed. We won't talk about the big trailer because that came out in 2017. We'll save that for another episode.
Right.
But we got the announcement trailer and we saw Superman and Batman and Flash and Supergirl. It was confirmed in that teaser trailer. She's in it, so we saw them. And Janine and I are big Injustice players.
Yes.
When we bought, was a couple years ago, like 4 years ago, we decided that our Blu-ray player was giving us fits and we wanted to get a new one. But we talked about getting a video game system because the snow was so bad. We were stuck inside. And we were comparing back and forth. And at first, Janine was kind of for an Xbox, but I suggested the PS3. And I talked her into it. And the first games we bought were Mortal Kombat and Batman Arkham.
Yeah. Yes.
Asylum.
Oh, yes.
And then, of course, when Injustice was announced, we bought that. And we would get into arguments. And when we'd start arguing, we decided, hey, let's go play Injustice. That's how we fought. That's how this husband and wife couple fought, was playing some Injustice.
And it worked.
It did work.
And, it totally got us out of our fight mode.
And now that they're bringing in the new Injustice 2 for PS4, we will continue that tradition.
Yeah.
We got that trailer, which is awesome. And I guess we could mention this. There's at least a flashback scene in the trailer for the Lego Batman movie that's paralleling BVS. So at least Superman's referenced in the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah.
That's something, I guess, to celebrate. So that brings us to movies. And we had BVS, which the S in BVS stands for Superman. So
I'm pretty sure you guys probably know that.
So that means we don't even have to talk about that because that's been talked about on this show a lot. But I mean, that was a big step for this year, If you think about it, the first Superman sequel since the Christopher Reeves film.
And I will say this over and over and over again. I definitely think that BVS was more B than S.
Yes.
And I think that, we definitely needed another Superman film before BVS, but
Before the B.
yeah.
Snyder liked to give us the B.
I mean, yeah, I get it because Batman's a popular dude, but
Profitable.
yeah,
Profitable, popular, same thing. But the joy is we did get the announcement of, we knew it was coming, but we did get Justice League at Comic-Con with a trailer.
yeah.
It's not even really a trailer, it's more just like a sneak preview.
Jeez.
And there's no Superman in the trailer, but they did release that still shot of like the whole cast of Justice League, well, not the whole cast, but of the Justice League, and there's Superman standing there. And then later on, Snyder, when they finished wrapping film, released the behind the scenes video, which you see Henry in his blue suit, and maybe the black one. I've watched that thing frame by frame, and just it's slightly far enough that I can't tell the way he's twisted and moving, that if it's like a bat suit variation or the black Superman suit, it's very difficult to tell. But he's in the film. We know that. It's just
right.
How much, when does he come back? What are we looking at? I'm hoping it's not like the last end of the movie, because I really want to, this is Justice League. I don't want to wait for Justice League 2
to see Superman a part of that. Yeah.
And I'm really curious about how they're going to bring him back.
Yeah.
Because maybe once he was pulled away from the kryptonite, his cells slowly started to regenerate, or Bruce was smart enough to put some solar lamps or have solar energy pumped in there or something. I don't know. Maybe maybe Bruce switched the body. It's not even really Clark that they buried. It was a fake, and he's got the real body at the cave.
Very well could be.
I mean, because we don't have the Kryptonian tech.
Right.
Like we should have, but that's another story. And then last but not least at all is TV. And I'm thinking TV, and I saved this one for last, not just because we mainly do Supergirl, but because I really like Henry as Superman. and I appreciate his take. I feel like he's very underserviced.
Agreed completely.
But this year on Supergirl, we got 2 episodes with Superman. And I swear, like, I felt like a kid with a big goofy smile when he showed up.
I'm not going to lie. I felt like with the show, we got more of Superman than we have with any of the Snyder films.
Yeah. And like I said, I respect what they're trying to do with, you know, a change. And I feel like on the show, they changed just enough to break away from what we knew, but they kept a lot intact.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate both versions. But Superman on TV is probably my favorite Superman thing of this year.
Well, I mean, Superman on TV is very much more classic style Superman. You know, he's got that like good fun vibe to him. And then with Henry on the big screen, we really haven't had a chance to feel that Superman out, you know? Like to really know who Superman is.
And the big thing with that is, if you think about it, is with Henry Superman, this is like what, his second year of being Superman, and supposedly Tyler on Supergirl, he's been active at least 12 years, like at the minimum.
What is it that you've told me? Yeah, Henry was more of a Superman character on set, like when they weren't filming him.
Yeah.
Than he was actually when he was being filmed.
Yeah, you can, from behind the scenes videos and pictures and stuff, he has more of that classic, because you can tell he could totally be a classic Superman, but they're trying something. And the difference is Henry is Superman in year 2, and Tyler is Superman like in year 13 or 14, because, you know, Kara came when she was 11 or 12, and, you know, you have that
Superman
time period
already,
of Kara growing up.
Yeah.
So he's been active for a long time, so he's got this.
Right.
He knows what he's doing.
Yep, he's established.
Exactly. So it gives him a whole different way of presenting himself, which brings us to Supergirl. Now, what's great is we started this year off with Supergirl on CBS.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure if we were going to get a season 2, what was going to happen. And then they announced that it was moving to the CW. And you know what?
It made a lot of sense.
It made a lot of sense, but it's still working. It's still the same show.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some differences in the sets and stuff, and they've adjusted well, but it's still the same quality of show.
I was about to say the quality absolutely has not changed.
It has the same kind of feeling of when you kick into a second season of a series. Like, I've been watching Lois and Clark in order, and one thing it's interesting is if you watch the last episode of season 1 and then start the first episode of season 2, is they got a different actor to be Jimmy. And it's just weird how he's introduced. And I like both of them, and I understand why they changed actors, because the second actor definitely has more of that youthful, young Jimmy. The first actor, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, looked more like he could be Superboy or like Clark's brother. And then Justin Whalen, the second actor, looked more like a pal, kind of goofy guy that would follow you around and was more Jimmy. But like Lois walks in and says, "Hey, Jimmy," and then this guy walks into the frame, and it's just like, "Oh, wow, okay." You know, things change, get shaken up sometimes. So I think it definitely has that. It's the same show. We've just got, this is the second season.
I mean, we're lucky that since they switched over from CBS to CW, that we've been able to keep all of the same actors, you know, and everyone basically followed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, even Callista Flockhart did Cat for 2 episodes, and she might reappear and be more of a reoccurring than. But even that made sense. It was logical, and they were able to do it smooth. Right. I mean, this year 2016, we saw Supergirl meet the Flash. Ooh. And then the year ended with the crossover.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think that that's the best thing they could have done for the show, was bring it over to CW so that we could do these connective, you know, shows and everything like that. Bring Arrow and bring Legends of DC and then bring Flash and, you know, everybody coming together. That's going to hype up your other shows, you know?
Exactly. I mean, especially when you're looking at the fact that Supergirl is done by the same production team as the other shows, it makes sense. It's not like where you have Gotham, where it's a different channel, but it's a different producer, it's a different creative team and everything.
And it feels like a different world completely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Supergirl always had that similar energy of like the Flash, you know?
Definitely.
So it made sense to bring it in.
Well, you've got people like my mother, for instance, who absolutely loves The Flash. She's gotten back into Arrow. She used to watch Arrow when it first started, and then she kind of got away from it, but she started watching it again.
Maybe because season 4 sucked.
And she watches Legends of DC, right? But she's telling
Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of DC is a
us.
podcast.
It's okay. Keep plugging
Yes,
this, baby.
it's us. But yeah, so anyway, she watches, you know, all 3 of those shows, but she's always telling me like, oh, I don't have enough time for Supergirl. You know, I'm watching all of these shows. So when they do the connective, episodes, she's getting more intrigued by Supergirl, you know, and she kind of wants to start watching some more Supergirl episodes to understand the characters. And it's really interesting because it totally just makes sense, and it's going to end up, you know, helping the show get more ratings, you know, them being able to do this through the CW, you know.
Exactly. And just a side note, I have the coolest mother-in-law. Just throwing that out there. But
She's pretty cool.
Exactly. I mean, it makes sense because you want to build. That's the whole point of the fun of the connecting is, well, they do it in comics where it's like, if you're reading if you're reading Superman, but there's a crossover with Batman, but you don't read the Batman book, the next Superman book, it makes sense, but it makes you want to read the Batman book to get the full story.
Right.
And then you might enjoy what you're reading. So a really good example of this is I like to buy the trades a lot compared to like individual issues of stuff when I'm getting caught up. But the first 2 trades of Batman and the first 2 trades of Nightwing of the New 52 are one giant story that connect. And you can read Nightwing without reading Batman, and you can read Batman without Nightwing. But if you read them together, you get such a bigger and better, stronger story that all ties together.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you, Jania.
Uh-huh.
What is the one thing that was your favorite about Superman or Supergirl of 2016?
Oh my gosh. That's really such a hard question to answer because there's so many different things that have gone on. And to pick one thing out of the varying possibilities, that's a little hard.
Yes.
But okay. Yeah. I really loved Tyler Hoechlin, however you want to say that. I really loved him coming in as a Superman for Supergirl. It just, it really set the show for me. And it was a really epic moment, in Superman history, you know, as well as Supergirl. You know, we finally get Superman and Supergirl on screen together and it makes sense.
For the first time. I mean, we were so close. I mean, there was so much. It was so close of having Christopher Reeve appear in the Supergirl movie for a scene, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, but this worked so beautifully, and they worked so well together, and it's exactly what you want to see out of Superman and Supergirl and their relationship, and just how they look on screen together, how they function as a unit. You got to see all of that. So for me, that was probably the most epic moment of the year.
And I'm going to kind of cheat here. I kind of got 2 things. Because,
not fair.
Well, one is it's the same as yours.
Okay.
And so that people don't hear me say the same thing as you just said. The other one I'm going to say is actually Rebirth in the comics. Because being the Superman fan that I am, and now being a father, the fact that Superboy right now is Clark's son, I love reading every issue. Like, I feel a different connection to Superman when I'm reading, because now I'm not only reading my favorite character, but I'm now reading it through the eyes of someone who's a father as well.
Right.
I mean,
it has a different meaning for you.
Exactly. I mean, you know, you and I have made jokes as like when Solomon was born, it was like, and shortly after we watched Man of Steel, and I cried my eyes out and I freaked out to the point where I couldn't watch the opening scene for the longest time of any Superman film because I felt like, Jarrell, like, how could I do that? Like, and then it gave me a different perspective on Superman as far as what the parents went through for him. Mm-hmm. And then now in the comics, it's like I realigned seeing myself in the role of Superman is how is he raising his child.
All right.
So that's my little cheat. Like it or not, it's my podcast. So now we're going to get on and talk about Medusa.
Yeah.
Now, Jania, Medusa was the last episode of Supergirl before the break and the first episode of the quote-unquote 4-part crossover.
Right.
What was the dumbest thing about this episode?
Well, I mean, in your mind, it was basically the whole alien situation.
You mean the fact that the whole premise of this is a virus that kills aliens,
Right.
does not kill humans or Kryptonians.
Uh-huh.
Wait, I can't remember if it does kill or doesn't kill Kryptonians because it was tweaked by Cadmus, but we'll get there. And they destroy that virus at the end, right as Barry shows up to get Kara's help with an alien invasion.
Yeah. Say, hey, I need you to help me take care of these aliens.
3 seconds. It would be like, sure, let me grab this Medusa virus, we'll release it in your world, and bam!
Yep.
Every alien's dead, and the heroes didn't have to do anything.
Yep.
So, writers, you messed up on this one. Honestly, this is a good episode. It should have been after the crossover.
Right.
Like, the Medusa thing should have come after, because afterwards we wouldn't be having this argument about how the Medusa virus could have wiped out the entire problem that happened on the other shows.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So,
Yes.
with that rant over, let's really talk about the episode. It opens on Thanksgiving, so now this episode will become a Thanksgiving tradition of ours every year. And we have the quote that I laugh at is, the Dansverse family have a tradition of going around the table and saying what they're thankful for. Doesn't everybody?
Right.
I mean, doesn't everyone at least, somebody mentions, hey, I'm thankful for this. I mean, heck, in the Punisher movie, he's like, I'm thankful for dinner. And it's not even Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, go ahead and try to take credit for something everybody does. But whatever. Mon-El was great being the awkward person at Thanksgiving. And my favorite line comes from Kara later when talking to Mon-El, because her mom makes the thing that Mon-El was being extra nice to her mom because that's what guys do when they're trying to get close to the daughter.
Girls they're interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would know nothing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Nope, just saying. Not like I did anything, but, hey. Also, this episode is a cheat as far as the 4-part crossover.
Yeah.
Because the scene at the end that connects the crossover, they replay at the beginning of Flash.
Yeah.
Which to me sabotages the whole point. Like
there's no reason for it to be a 4-part crossover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you would have
it makes no sense.
If you would have had Flash start with her coming through the portal and then back, then someone who just watches Flash or Arrow or whatever would be like, oh, wait, how'd this happen? Maybe I'll go back and watch that Supergirl episode.
That's why the placement of this episode just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can't make it a part of this whole situation because, I mean, part of it's like, oh, if we actually did the legit crossover and had Flash a part of this episode somehow, he would have found out about the Medusa virus and then he would have known, oh, hey, I need this, It makes no sense. It makes no sense. All right, let's talk about the episode.
We have Alex who's drinking a lot because she's trying to come out and tell her family that she is gay or believes herself to be gay. And it's just kind of odd because she has a really tight relationship with her sister and her mother. And then she decides to come out to everybody at Thanksgiving, instead of like talking to her mom and her sister like you think she would, the people she's closest with, maybe one-on-one or just the two of them. Mm-hmm. It was really kind of like awkward the way they did it, I guess. Because then you have Jimmy and Wynn who are trying to come out that, hey, we're the Guardian and his sidekick.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I feel like Alex, which her story brings drama and character growth as in a more serious tone, as the Wynn and Jimmy things has a little bit more of this humor to it because, they're coming from more of a goofy point. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I'm a little tongue-tied here, but... So that was awkward, but then something opens up over the table. It's blue and it's swirling and it looks like a breach. And then we cut to, what do you call it? Mon-El and John are at a bar. You know, the bar where all the aliens go.
Right.
Which, okay, the one thing I feel like we got lost on in this series is in season 1, the aliens are all Fort Ross escapees. Mm-hmm. We have the one guy we meet I can't remember, it's too late, wrongfully imprisoned, or he served his time and now he's just trying to be a good citizen.
Right,
Who was the teacher who was getting ready to be executed that Kara and Alex saved.
Right.
But where are all these other aliens coming from?
Yeah.
And it made me think, I know it's been a long time, but like in Men in Black, the first one, they make the reference about being like the international airport where any aliens come as refugees. They come to the New York, to the Men in Black. They register. The Men in Black help them get new IDs, careers, jobs, papers.
So you're saying like the bar should be kind of like a meeting place?
I think the DEO should have some sort of like the Men in Black, like where the aliens who are coming to our planet go through the screening process or something. And then, you know, the bar is like their hidden place that they go to.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, why are they all here? Why National City?
Yeah.
You know, you have this what's drawing them to National City? So if you had the DEO as like, well, if you're an alien coming to Earth seeking shelter, migration, refuge, you have to register with the DEO and then we'll give you citizenship kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Because it almost makes more sense to me that they would go to Metropolis. Because that's where, you know...
Superman is?
Yeah.
And he's been around for 12 years?
Exactly. And he's an established alien. You know what I mean? Like, it's just... If they're trying to become established and if they're trying to create some kind of life, you know, if I was an alien, I'd be going to Superman. Like, hey, you've got this figured out. You know, you've been around for a long time. How do I do this?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that Superman and Supergirl are like good-looking aliens. You know, not like some of the ones we see in this episode who are, for lack of a better term, creepy, weird, ugly.
Yeah.
And then you have John, who, you know, lucky man, is a shapeshifter. Like, that doesn't come in handy. But we get to see Lena, and we know that Lena's mother is the head Cadmus. So Kara goes to talk. Yeah, Cadmus. Oh, wait, we forgot one thing about 2016.
Oh, gosh.
They announced season 3 of Young Justice. That's all we know. Anyways, moving forward. So Lena calls her mom, and I'm thinking, okay, I could not remember if Lillian Luthor was canonical or not, because that's the name that was given in Smallville. And Lionel Luthor, by name, I'm like 90% sure was created for Smallville. Mm-hmm. And then later comics, I think, adapted or used his name as well for Lex's father. And I'm still kind of waiting for that to drop. They say Lionel in any reference to Lillian's husband, ex-husband, whatever.
Right.
So I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, she's calling her mom. She's going to call her out like, hey, yo, like Rocky. Hey, yo. You know, are you in Cadmus? But I got scared. And we'll get back there with what was going on with the Luthors for a moment. Made me a little nervous.
Yeah.
But back to the bar. Mon-El's drinking, like he's throwing it back. And he sees John.
Yeah.
Who's not John.
Right.
Who's Hank.
Yeah, he follows him.
He follows him out. And what's sad is Hank releases the virus, the Medusa virus that kills all aliens. And Mon-El starts to fight with him. And he gets whipped. Okay. And the thing I like about Mon-El is he's powered, but he's also depowered.
Yeah.
You know, in the sense, he's kind of like, Mon-El's such a comic book character that comic book fans know that the average person doesn't think of. Mm-hmm. And I like what they're doing with him in a lot of ways. One problem I have with it is his name. I've addressed that on other episodes. Won't go into that. But he reminds me of the way Superboy sometimes is portrayed when it's the Connor version, where he's powerful, but he's not Superman powerful. Right. And in this case, he's powerful, but he's not Supergirl powerful. Right. Like, he can't fly. He doesn't have heat vision. So
he's a watered down version.
Yeah. And it's a cool way to look at the character because it makes him in some aspects angrier because he wants to do good, but he hasn't been able to find out how because he's not able to do what others can. Right. But yet he can do more than Jimmy can. But anyways, he hears a scream. He runs back inside and everyone's dying. And it is weird that they all died so quickly and he got the virus infected from the gas.
Right.
But it takes a long time.
Yeah, it dissipated quickly is what I assume.
Because they said, they do make the reference that you can only catch the virus from the source. Like, you can't transmit it. Mon-El couldn't give it to Kara or to John. They had to be exposed to it.
Right.
Which is good because that, definitely makes it dangerous, but not as dangerous as it could be. So they talk about the virus was created by Kryptonians to kill all other aliens.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't remember if there's a line where Cadmus had to have tweaked it so that, because technically humans would be aliens to Kryptonians.
Yeah.
So Cadmus had to do something to it so that the virus didn't kill humans. And they never state if it was set to kill or not kill Kryptonians.
Right.
And there's a line where Kara finds out that it was her father, Zor-El, who created it. And she says, I thought you were saved lives. And he says, yes, Kryptonian lives. So it's definitely, she gets a different perspective on who her father was.
Right.
And I think that's interesting because there's so many times that, look, if I could go back in time and see my father and talk to him at different points in time, there'd be different things about him that he represents. And he's a different person at those times.
Right.
You know, the experiences that would maybe later lead to the man that I know today wouldn't be there yet. So his point of view on certain subjects will be different.
Yes.
And the same thing with your mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody's parents. So it's just a different way of looking at our parents. And as we move forward, we find out that Lena talks to her mom and wants in. And I was like, that's where I was scared.
Yeah, definitely. It turned my stomach for sure. It made me rethink her completely. I'm like, okay, maybe she is just like every other Luthor.
And I mean, that's where I was like, okay, what are we doing? Because having the idea that there's a good Luthor is really good, you know? I mean, that was something they wrestled with in the last seasons of Smallville. And yes, our dog just fell asleep on the floor next to us and is snoring. So if you hear that, we do apologize. Kenobi is out. We have tried to run him to death. Not death, but, sleep.
It worked.
Yeah, we succeeded. But we missed Kara's line to Mon-El. Now, to all you guys out there, when a girl you like starts to ask you if you like her, and you're not quite sure how to tell her, you don't want her to find out you like her by her saying, do you like me? Mm-hmm. You don't be like, yes, I do. Why I'm in this cage because I'm quarantined. Doesn't quite work like that. So when Kara tries to confront Mon-El and ask her, she's like, do you like me? He's like, I like you. I mean, he doesn't get it. Now, the question is, does he understand what she's saying and just kind of playing dumb, or does he generally not get it?
No, he gets it. He's not dumb. He totally gets it. And by the way, from a girl's perspective, from my perspective as a female, okay? If I'm asking a dude this question, I'm interested enough to know the answer to it. Okay. So that means I'm probably, digging him too. I'm just waiting for him to be the one to fess up for it, and yeah, he needs to be confident enough to be like, yeah, hey.
There's no underlining meaning in anything she just said. But Kara gets blunt with Mon-El and says, do you want to, it's not like you want to mate with me. And I was like, that's it. That's how I should have told Jania that I liked her. I shouldn't have said, Jania, I like you. I find you attractive. Would you like to be my girlfriend? No, I should be like, I want to mate with you. I mean, it's true.
This is a family show.
It is a family show.
Yeah.
We keep it clean. But that's what Kara said.
I know.
I'm learning here from Kryptonian Customs.
Yep.
I guess that's how I have to
Dax
pass to talk to Solomon. That's Solomon. When you try to tell a woman that you're interested in her, this is what you say. No, I'm not going to do that. But of course, as the episode progresses, we see Cadmus is going to release a bomb that's attached to the Medusa virus. Alex has a conversation with her mom about Maggie. Mm-hmm. Alex and Kara are working to hack Hack Cadmus, find Cadmus with Win, the ultimate hacker who I wish was my best friend.
You know, I want to put a little tidbit in here about the whole Alex situation and, you know, her trying to come out to Kara and her mom. For me, she has such a close relationship, especially with Kara, you know, that I feel like I know my siblings well enough to know how they would react if I were to be like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm lesbian. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like it would be...
I feel like the timidness should come from her trying to tell certain people like John.
Yeah.
Wynn, like the secondary people that are really close to her.
Right. Not her. Not, I mean, I get how some people's family, it can be hard for you to tell them, but when you're so close to your family to the point where you know them, like you really, really know them, I feel like it would be easier and it would be a relief to be able to talk to your family and tell them the truth. And like I said, I would know how my sister would react if I were to tell her, hey, I'm a lesbian, you know, because I'm just tight with my sister and I love her and she loves me. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I feel like in a way for Alex, it's like is she second guessing their relationship to a point because
or is she second guessing herself?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. She is.
I mean, it comes out. Her mother accepts her and tells her that, and you can tell it's a burden that's lifted off of her, and so that's nice. And we forgot to mention Eliza is helping because she specializes with alien DNA, because where she's been studying and everything, trying to figure out what to do about this virus, see if they can find a cure. And basically, it comes down to there's what is the word? Like an isotope that only L-Corp has. So Lena pairs with her mother to use it, and they're launching the rocket. And Supergirl and John show up to stop it, and they know that they're risking death. And then Hank Henshaw shows up, and we have a scene of John on John, and then he changes to the Martian.
Yeah.
And they're fighting, and then we see that from a previous episode where he received a blood transfusion from McGann, he's actually turning like into a black Martian because he's turning into a white, but it's interfering with his green biology.
Yeah.
It's making him a very monstrous black. So you have this black Martian fighting Hank, and I will not use the term because I don't like the way they're doing it. Because he says, I'm Cyborg Superman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't like it. And I've said this before because why is he using Superman?
Yeah, there's no
in the
reason
comics,
why
there's reason behind why Hank assumed himself as Cyborg Superman, because he looked like Superman. His memory and mind had been destroyed because he was saved by Superman, and he thought he was Superman later, and he looked like his physical presence was metallic, and he looked like he was Superman as well.
The only thing that I could think of the reason why they use Cyborg Superman, I mean, other than the obvious, is because it's like a way of mocking Superman.
See, and that's where I'm cool with. I wish there was a flashback scene of Hank meeting Superman.
Yeah.
And like there being this detest that he has for him. And the idea of he's mocking Superman by calling himself Cyborg Superman, meaning I can be just as powerful as Superman is a cyborg. And I'm not 100% sold on his Kano look.
Yeah.
You know, the one side. Like he's about to be like, fight.
Right.
Maybe it's a little Injustice plug. But now let's see where that's at. So we have that fight. And yay. Guess what?
What, Tyler? Tell us.
Lena was good. She didn't use the isotope that her mother needed. She did something else, so the virus didn't kill him. And the cops show up to get her mom.
Which is actually a huge relief, because I was so afraid that they were going to slip into this. I feel like it's a rut.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's one of those places where a lot of shows will go and, you know, try and make it turn and interesting and whatever. What I think is more interesting is she's actually legit, you know, from the beginning. It's just, I don't know. I felt like it could have gone cheesy, to be honest with you.
Yes. I totally agree. And I was happy with that because it just made more sense for the character. from what we've been introduced to the character and what she's trying to accomplish, I'm wondering if later on her mom might have someone from Cadmus kill her off. Because she drops the line about never
loving her
and not being a real Luthor. And Lex was always the favorite.
Well, she said she's adopted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which helps with the whole Luthor curse. So, yay, that happened, and then Liza finds a cure and uses the Medusa virus to save John. So he's not turning into a white-black Martian.
Yay, John. Woo.
No more Oreo Martian. Which is nice.
Jones.
For John Jones. I don't know why.
I don't know why he growls. Yeah, I don't know.
So, and then at the very end of the episode, pop, Barry and Cisco show up, and it's a really great scene that just happens again in Flash.
Now, you forgot, okay?
Oh, you're right, I did. My bad.
You forgot about Mon-El.
Mon-El, before he went hysterical and slipped into like a coma from the virus, kissed Kara.
Yeah.
And, you know, how crazy, let's take a step back. How crazy is that dinner table at the beginning? You have Wynn, who's in love with Kara, who's been friend-zoned.
Totally.
You have Jimmy, who had a weird relationship with Kara that I'm still not happy with how they fizzled that out at the beginning.
Yeah, it was really odd.
Like, we worked so hard to get together. We didn't get on a date because you're out saving the world of Supergirl. I guess we can't date.
And then now she's just like sworn off the idea of dating in general a point.
And then Mon-El, who is basically like the Juliet to her Romeo.
Yeah, yeah.
The two star-crossed lovers from the bad planets that shouldn't like each other.
Yep.
So Kara went from being in the pilot to having a guy basically leave her on a blind date, putting her down, to sitting at a Thanksgiving table with her mom and sister with 3 dudes.
Who are crazy about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who want to
mate with her.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the episode. How did you feel about the episode overall? Like on a scale of 5, where would you place it?
Okay. That's really hard to rate because, this is why I'll go back to the beginning of our podcast here. Okay. We talked about how this doesn't really work with the whole 4-part crossover thing. So in that context, it's a lower rating in my mind. You know, but if I were able to just completely separate this episode from the crossover, take out the fact that Flash was trying to come through the breaches, you know, for me, it would probably be about a 4, you know, but with that context of it trying to be a part of the 4-part crossover, it would definitely drop it to a 3 for me because it doesn't make sense.
And it doesn't
completely.
Make sense. I'm with you completely on that. As an episode by itself, I give it a 4, but as part of the crossover series, I give it a 3 because you repeat it. If you had not repeated it in Flash, it'd be a 3.5. But the fact you have a Medusa virus that is exactly what they would need in the crossover, I might as well give you a 2.
Yeah.
For poor writing.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's like you forced the crossover because you had this episode already written in your schedule and then they decided to do the crossover, which you already planned ahead of time, by the way.
Yeah.
I think next year's crossover, what they should do, instead of trying to do one story that touches each show and each show has the majority of that crossover is like focused on their episode, what they should do is they should plan a crossover as like the break. Like each show mid-season should appear. And then there's the crossover, which is like a movie. Like you write a made-for-TV movie with the 4 shows.
Yeah.
And then that's the crossover event. And that happens like in between all the season finales, mid-season finales or something. So when I'm watching, you know, because like when you're watching the crossover and you watch the Flash episode, it's still a Flash episode with other people in it, you know, because you have the supporting cast of the Flash. And then when you get to Arrow, it was weird because it was the 500th, or not the, oh my gosh, the 100th episode in season 5. And Phil and Lilith did an episode like this, like we did for Queen Consolidated, where they looked at it as just a straight Arrow episode. Yeah. Being that it was the 100th. So it's definitely a more Arrow-centric episode. So if you were to watch them all together, you could point out what was what.
Right.
But I mean, so that's it for this episode. We want to get it back on track. Next week is going to be the premiere. We're really excited for that. So we just wanted to tell you it's good to be back. Keep listening. We got some new tech over the holiday that we've been testing out, trying to make a better, cleaner, more professional sounding podcast. And remember to check out the other shows on Legends of DC. And remember, look up in the sky.